Gashagua's response to the incident at the Kasarani Church. Drama bin drama, Arab drama, ole drama, zote pamoja. We have crossed a line. Oh yes, we have crossed a line. And this is not good news. It isn't. But what it means is that going forward, expect anything to happen. And I mean anything. And of course I'm going to break it down for you so that we all understand what I am talking about. But first of all, so that we're all clear, Rigathi Gachagua, the former deputy president, was attending a church service at Kasarani when a group of goons tried to infiltrate the church, making a lot of noise. Actually, they attacked Gashagua's entourage, and for a few moments it was messy. According to eyewitnesses, hata walisikia mulio wa risasi, gunshots. That's how serious it was. But the situation was brought under control, and the church service proceeded, and Gashagua responded to this attack that had just happened and addressed Kenyans and told them what it was all about. Even told Kenyans who was responsible. And this is one of the reasons why I'm saying a line was crossed. Now, it is very important in politics, this way emotions don't work, to be able to step back and analyze how certain key politicians are behaving at particular times. It is very telling. Okay? You will have noticed that during Ruto's tour of the Mount Kenya region, Gashagua made a strategic retreat. Okay? He stayed low-key, chini ya maji. He did not make any public appearances. He did not make any public utterances. Now it is rather obvious this was a strategic retreat. And for many reasons. One of the reasons being that it would have been very easy, if something went wrong, for Ruto people to say it is Gashagua who caused the problem, or Gashagua incited, etc., etc. So he just kept quiet, retreated kabisa. And those who don't come from Murima may not know this, but Gashagua gave instructions to the Murima people on what they were to do. They were told to receive the president, no problem, but to make sure that they get their cut. They make sure they're given money. But in my opinion, they did not follow those instructions to the letter. Because we all saw, people had received money because they were already wearing clothing with the Ruto branding. Those who had received the money were still heckling and booing at the president and shouting Ruto must go and shouting Mwongo. Okay? So, I guess the emotions got the better of them. Very interesting to note, and in my opinion, very deadly for this presidency, because it displays clearly, for anybody who doubted, what the real emotions of Kenyans on the ground is. And that is not something you can ignore. No matter how proud and entitled you think you are, no matter how strong and clever and smart you think you are, that is something you can't ignore. And remember, I have still not told you what I meant when I said a line has been crossed. And it's not a good thing. But stay with me. We'll come to that. Oh yes. Now Gashagua is telling Kenyans that those responsible for the attack on the church, he named them. And he named Nairobi governor Johnson Sakaja, who he told us was sent by State House, by Ruto. What? And that's not all. Gashagua referred to an incident that has happened before in the country called Kenya. I think it is very important that we listen in to what Gashagua said, what exactly he said. Okay? So that nobody thinks I'm making this up. Yeah, just listen in. I'll be back shortly.
Ulikuwa umetuma watu huko Nyeri nje ya kanisa. Sasa umekuja mpaka umeingia ndani ya kanisa. Sawa, tulikuwa tunafikiria utapanga nje ya kanisa. But you have become bold. You don't care anymore that you are sending goods through the governor hapa ya Nairobi kuja kuangaisha kanisa la Kristo na kuangaisha sisi. It's okay, there is no problem. Wewe endelea kama unaona hivyo ni sawa, there is no problem. We are aware the Deputy Inspector General aliambia polisi wasikuje, but a few policemen in plain clothes walikuja wakasaidia pale, which is okay because there are some officers who are conscious that they have a constitutional obligation to protect life and property. Last week tumetumia polisi kutuangaisha Naivasha, which is okay. Lakini tunashangaa kwa nini kwa sababu kwetu mlimani hakuna mtu amekuuliza? Si ametembea? Na nikaambia watu wamkaribishe. Bora walipe, si ndio? So now let us be decent people. The way umekaribishwa pale, wachana na sisi tutembee pale tunataka. And even if you want to pursue us, don't pursue us inside the church. But of course, when we are seated here, wondering why the president would go to that length of sending goons inside a church to attack leaders, to attack Christians. But we also remember that sometimes back, kanisa ya Kiambaa, watoto walikuwa huko, walichukuliwa wakarudishwa ndani wakachomeka. So we are not surprised because hii ni tabia ambayo inaonekana it is consistent. So where rais endelea, no problem. Lakini ujue hii kitendo ya leo, uhusiano yako na kanisa ya PCEA is irreparably damaged ever. So wewe endelea tu vile unataka, it's okay, there's no problem. And other churches are seeing. Hakuna mtu haoni. Na mimi sijui ni kwa nini kama sisi we are nothing. We are finished. We are nobody in this country. Why are you pursuing us?
I think now it is much clearer to all of us what I was talking about when I said a line has been crossed. Actually, it is now very clear that there is an all-out brutal battle between the executive and the former deputy president. And this is not a good thing. It's not. Let me take you back in history to explain what I'm talking about. Now we know that the community that was at the forefront of fighting the colonialists were the House of Mumbi. Everybody knows that. Okay? Other communities of course were involved. But those at the forefront, those who suffered the most, those who the impact of the colonialists hitting back, those who took the brunt, those who took the impact most, were the House of Mumbi. Now I want to ask you a question. Do you think that the House of Mumbi were coming out and making statements? Do you think Dedan Kimathi, legend, hero, patriot Dedan Kimathi, was coming out and making statements that we're going to attack the Mzungu here and there? That we're fighting the Mzungu? No! Nothing like that. The reaction of gallant House of Mumbi warriors when the Mzungus caught up with them and arrested them was always the same. What have we done? Huh? What have we done? Where's the evidence? Tumefanya nini? Okay? So, it is very important to realize that what was happening here is that this battle against the colonialists, as violent as it was chini ya maji. Folks, that is the most dangerous battle anybody can endure anywhere. And that is why I'm saying a line has been crossed. Because Gashagua, in reminding Kenyans about the 2007 very unfortunate incident in a church in Kiambaa, in the Rift Valley, yeah, it's called Kiambaa, which is a Kikuyu name, but it is in the Rift Valley, where so many innocent children and women lost their lives. The church was burnt, and indeed some children tried to escape, and some women, and were grabbed and thrown back. Oh boy. Yeah? The fact that Gashagua is bringing that back should tell every Kenyan very clearly a line has been crossed. Oh God Almighty, help Kenya. And by the way, Gashagua has made an announcement that tomorrow, Monday, he is going to release a bombshell. Hey. Now, let us not forget that most of us have still not recovered from the Muturi tapes. Muturi released his own bombshells. And according to my information, that was only part 1. Part 2 is coming. And possibly part 3. Hey! And now, as that is simmering, Wamunyoro has come out and said, it appears, I cannot be outdone. I will also start releasing my own bombshells. Now, I also want to draw your attention to the reaction of the government to the Muturi tapes. It would seem that the government, which is using Junet Mohammed, who is supposed to be the majority leader, but is actually called minority leader, the government is using Junet Mohammed to start a discussion, a probe in parliament about the controversial building of the Bunge Towers, where the budget was increased by 2 figures, very suddenly, without an explanation. Of course, the insinuation there is that there's some corruption. Yeah, that extra money, increase in budget, that is a telltale sign of corruption. That money went into somebody's pocket. And so, Junet Mohammed has announced that they're going to call the former AG and the former cabinet secretary, Justin Muturi, to answer questions about why that budget increased. The insinuation is that it was inflated. Yeah? And of course, it is very clear that that is the response of the government to the very damaging Muturi tapes, revelations, on NTV. I hear somebody asking, why can the same technique, the same tactic, be used against Rigathi Gachagua? Well, I'm sure most of us know the answer. I'm sure most of us know the answer. The answer is very simple. You see, Justin Muturi was the Speaker of Parliament. Yeah? That is an office. But you see, Rigathi Gachagua was Deputy President of Kenya. Yes, it is an office, but also it's not an office on its own. It is not really an independent office. Yeah, it is part of the executive. And therefore, anything negative the government can release about Rigathi Gachagua will also deeply involve the other half of the executive. So they can't go that way. Up a roadblock. You can't go there. You can't. Hey! And so it's going to be tricky. Yeah, maybe one can argue that the response of the government was what we saw today at the church in Kasarani, very unfortunate, where the church was invaded by goons. Well, that kind of response is not really effective, because if anything, it makes Gashagua more popular. It even lifts up his profile and power and image as a Murema leader, as the voice of Murema. Bottom line, a line has now been crossed, and it has now gotten just that much more complicated. And we should expect anything. Going forward, we should expect anything. And remember, we're in the month of April. We have not even done half of April, and all this drama is unfolding. What will happen by the end of April? Huh? What? This is not good. I know the question on everybody's mind. What will now happen next? Okay? Actually, it is possible to very accurately predict what will happen next, and especially the response of the executive in this matter. It is much easier than you think. Yeah? You know, I have a special report which is based on information from experts. Yeah? And gosh, I can't say too much. It lays bare the character of President Ruto and why he behaves the way he does. Yeah? And why there are so many lies involved here. Actually, it's a condition. Yeah? More details in that special report. Okay, it is still available. You can see details on your screens right now. Actually, it is a stack of my most sensitive, highly sensitive videos. It also includes the high-tech assassination of John Pombe Magufuli, former president of Tanzania, which I said very recently was very similar to the assassination of a great Kenyan, an unsung hero of the nation, a man called Masinde Muliro. You know, yesterday I received some communication from a relative of Masinde Muliro, and actually I talked to her, and she told me, Kumekucha, you are the most accurate so far on what happened. And then I asked her about how it was executed, the assassination. She said you were spot on. Not me, that's what she said. And of course I took the opportunity as a Kenyan to tell her, I thank your family for the service. Because of course Kenya is a better place, because a man called Masinde Muliro was born in this country and lived in this country. The only selfless politician I know. Okay? Anyway, that is a story for another day. This stack of highly sensitive videos you cannot afford to miss. Okay? So please rush. This offer is there only for a very brief period of time. Use those details you see on the screens right now. Na tukae rada na chonjo, because we have entered a very chaotic part of that bridge I started talking about before the 2022 elections. Remember? Anyway, until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.